Sorry, folks, I didn't get to this. This is a while back, but it's just something I kind of kept an eye on. Figured I should do a video about it, just demonstrating more ignorance that comes out of the mouth of old receding hairline Bill Maher, whose hairline has receded about 6 feet in the last 10 years. But do y'all remember when receding hairline Maher, who knows about as much about economics as he does politics, as he does religion, he is a complete blowhard. It's kind of odd to see all the people that do follow him and take him seriously, because he's a clown entertainer, and that's about it. He does provide some clownish entertainment, but aside from that, there's not much to it. But you remember when he was rooting for a recession because, he doesn't know when it's going to happen or where or why, but he will Monday morning quarterback it like he does everything else. So do you remember when receding hairline was urging, hoping, praying, can I use that word when talking about Bill, for a recession? He wants the bottom to fall out of the economy so people can lose their jobs because he wants to get rid of Trump. You remember that?
To me. Can I ask about the economy? Because this economy is going pretty well. We have to, what? Why is that funny?
Hey, it is going well for now.
For now, right. That's my, thank you. That's my question. I feel like the bottom has to fall out at some point. And by the way, I'm hoping for it because I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. Yeah. So please bring on the recession. Yeah. Sorry if that hurts people, but it's either root for a recession or you lose your democracy.
Trump is doing it.
Well, the recession gotta happen sometime. Listen to these intellectual rednecks. It's gotta happen sometime. Bill, have you figured out the boom-bust cycle, little man? You bald-headed little twerp? I think you could talk to Tom Woods about that, someone who actually knows what he's talking about. So let's look at economic forecasts for a minute. Under the video, all the relevant links. Check them out. This first one is not quite Edwards' budget law, but close, on the Federal Reserve and its overly optimistic economic growth predictions. This is a while back. In her speech yesterday at the Federal Reserve's annual conference in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Fed Chair Janet Yellen stated that the case for an increase in the federal funds rate has strengthened in recent months. She based that view on the continued solid performance in the labor market and our outlook. Now remember, the Federal Reserve, they're the experts. They know better than you and me. They're really smart. She based that view on the continued solid performance in the labor market and our outlook for economic output and inflation. As documented by John Hilsenrath, tripped over that, Hilsenrath, in yesterday's Wall Street Journal, again, this is a while back, the Fed has consistently overestimated economic growth since 2004. And I wrote a note here. Note, Fed officials failing to see the persistence of this change have repeatedly overestimated how fast the economy would grow. The Fed has projected faster growth than the economy delivered in 13 of the past 15 years and is on track to do so again this year. The Fed's economic model is wrong, but they're the smart guys. If they tell Bill Maher what he wants to hear, then he'll be parroting them. The Fed's economic model is wrong, and there's no reason to believe it will suddenly produce reliable predictions. The model also does poorly in predicting inflation, though it does not show such a bias one way or the other. Continuing to rely on the Fed's flawed model to determine policy would be foolish. Characterizing the labor market as solid is misleading in the extreme. Much of the decline in the unemployment rate to which Yellen directs our attention has been due to the decline in the civilian labor force participation rate, something I've harped on in my videos many times. If people give up on the labor market, they are not counted as unemployed. Far from being a sign of strength, the fall in the unemployment rate for that reason is arguably a sign of weakness in labor markets. Note, at least not the traditional unemployment rate. One must use the U6 and take into account declines in labor force participation rates, especially for men 25 to 54. Since the unemployment rate is no longer a reliable indicator of labor market conditions, it should be dropped as a policy gauge. So I know some progressives saying, well, them Republicans, they repeat their economic forecast too. Yeah, well, if they do, you're saying I'm just as dumb as they are. Not an argument. If you claim the other person is just as stupid as you, well, they're doing it. Well, if everybody jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? Probably. Here's another one. The yield on 10-year Treasury securities is currently 2.1%. Now look at the chart below at the link from the Wall Street Journal showing expert predictions about what the current rate would be. The journal reports not a single respondent in January's Wall Street Journal survey of economists predicted that the yield on 10-year Treasury notes would fall below 2.5% this year. These are the experts. In October, when the yields on the 10-year Treasury were near their peak of around 3.2%, none of the more than 50 respondents in the Wall Street Journal's monthly survey of economists predicted yields would dip below 2.75% by June 2019. The average forecast was 3.39%. Forecasts of interest rates appear pretty awful, and this is a market where vast profits are at stake, so there are big incentives to get it right. I've noted, and this is at the link here and here, that economists are lousy at predicting economic growth. What are the policy implications? The economy is too complex and uncertain for even bald-headed Bill Maher to parrot. The economy is too complex and uncertain for even the best economists to predict, so politicians stand no chance. And even worse are talking heads like Bill. It seems unlikely that political schemes from Washington to manage and manipulate our future economy would work. Furthermore, while businesses are forced to eat humble pie and change direction when the economy changes, the government is a rigid institution led by people who never admit their mistakes. So when politicians move economic resources around, the resources often get stuck in low-value uses for years on end. Actual businessmen and women and entrepreneurs, unlike you, Sam Cedar, actual businessmen and women and entrepreneurs have their own money on the line when they predict what the economy will look like in a year. Jackass politicians just buy votes and blame everyone else when their centrally planned policies fail. So again, Bill Maher is a guy who will Monday morning quarterback this. He'll spout off the accepted talking points today, the popularized material. But these talking heads and these clowns who try to predict, well, the bottom's going to fall out of the economy, and Bill's out there, he's wondering, he's got his magic 8-ball out. Is the economy going to fail? You could ask a magic 8-ball about the direction of the economy, and it would give you a better answer than Bill Maher. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now for the slap down.